day, grade 7s. Welcome to day 9 of our online classes. Today's NS lesson on the 30th of April will be a recap on the properties of materials that you have learned so far from the slides as well as from the notes. Now, let's first understand what a property actually is. So a property is a characteristic of a material. It tells you more about the material as well as what it can do or what it can be used for. There are some key questions that you should be able to answer after the lesson. Now let's look at those. Which properties are important when choosing a material for a particular use? How can we measure the strength of a material? What does it mean when a liquid boils? How can we explain the term boiling point? How can we explain the term melting point? I hope you did watch the video about properties of matter, and I do hope you enjoyed playing the game that investigates the properties of matter. Now, it is important to understand what matter is because materials are actually matter. Matter is the broader group. So matter is anything that has mass and takes up space. Matter is made of substances that exist in 3 different states. Those are solid, liquid, and gas. Looking at materials, these are substances that we use to make things or do things with, so they are useful to humans. Materials can be grouped as either natural, so sheep's wool that you use for jerseys, for example, or materials can be man-made. Plastic blends of metals that you use to make different resources or things with. Now, we choose materials for certain uses because of the properties of those materials. For example, a metal, we can say it is strong and durable. Those are the characteristics of a metal. We can describe properties in different ways. We can say they are shiny, they are dull, they are flexible, they are strong, and so on. Now, a material is suitable for a particular use if it has the properties that are needed in the finished product. For example, you would not use a sponge to build a tall building. You would use bricks, you would use concrete because they are strong. You want the building to be strong. Also, you wouldn't sleep on a concrete mattress. In order to sleep comfortably, you need a strong but firm mattress. So you'd use some other kind of material. The activity that you had to do, properties of materials determining suitability for a particular use, which was activity 5 in your textbook. You had to look at the materials in the picture, all of them that you could see, then answer the questions about them. First question, you had to write the different items that you see. Then question 2A, what material each object is made of. Question B, give a reason why you think the material was chosen for each object. And question 3, if you think another material would have been suitable for any of the objects, state the material and give a reason why. Now let's look at some of the physical properties. So strength. Materials can be strong in different ways. Let's look at concrete as an example. Concrete is very strong, it does not easily change shape, and it is difficult to crush. So concrete has compressive strength. It is used in a lot of building because you want buildings to be very strong. You don't want them to be easy to crush, and you don't want them to change shape or collapse easily. Other materials that have high compressive strength, rocks and bricks. In activity 2, that was the practical that I asked you to do. You had to investigate and compare the strength of different materials. Now, I hope you did follow the instructions and were able to record yourself performing this experiment. Right, the steps were all given to you and there were some questions to answer. I hope you were able to answer the questions in your book. Another property of materials, flexibility. Now, flexibility is a measure of how easy it is to bend a material. Now, the material should bend without breaking. For example, rubber and elastic are flexible materials. It is easy to water a garden with a rubber hose rather than a steel one because the rubber hose can bend. We use flexible materials in other objects such as car tires, plastic rulers, and fabrics for clothes and household furnishings. Activity 3, you needed to select a material to wrap food in. Now you had to look at the 4 materials given, then you had to answer the questions. Question 1, you had to arrange the items in order from the most suitable to the least suitable material for wrapping sandwiches. Second question, you had to write a sentence explaining why each material is suitable for wrapping sandwiches or is not suitable. And then question 3, you had to list and explain any other properties of the most suitable material given to you in the figure. Let's look at other properties of materials, boiling points and melting points. Now we're going to relate these to water. Water is a substance that we are all familiar with. We know that it exists in 3 states, solid, liquid, and gas. Now we also know that water can change states, and we either need to add heat to change the state or we remove heat. Now, when ice, which is a solid form of water, when it melts, it changes from solid to liquid, and this happens at a temperature of around 0 degrees Celsius. We call this the melting point of ice. If you heat water, eventually it will boil. Now, it boils at around 100 degrees Celsius. We call this the boiling point of water. When water boils, it changes state from a liquid to a gas, the gas called water vapor. Now notice, when we speak about the melting point or boiling point, we say around 0 degrees or 100 degrees Celsius. We don't give an exact number because the conditions for boiling point and melting point are not the same at all times. They are influenced by things such as pressure and impurities. So, for example, water boils at about 96 degrees in Johannesburg because of the lower air pressure there. If you go to a different area, the water may boil at a higher temperature or a low temperature, depending on the air pressure there as well. Now, I hope you did play the game that investigates the melting point of different substances, and you saw that different substances can melt at different temperatures. Now, in our next lesson, I will do a recap of electrical and heat conductivity. Those are the other properties of materials. I do hope you watched the 2 videos that I attached in our previous lesson and you wrote down some notes. Until I see you again, stay home and stay safe.